Okay, so just to remind you, if you were struggling with understanding the formula of a parabola and you need a little refresher, remember that the basic formula is the same, but it depends on which way your parabola is facing, up or down or left to right, as to which one you're going to put first. If it's going up or down, you're going to start with the x minus h value here first, and you're going to put the y minus k over here. If it's going left or right, you're going to put the y minus k over here and the x minus h over here. Okay, so let's think about how do we know which one goes first? How do we know if they're going to go up or down or left or right? Well, that all depends on the directrix. So let me back up to this little drawing, and if you see that the directrix is y equals something, that means that this line y is going to intersect this y-axis. This looks like it's intersecting it at about 1, y equals 1, let's say. So the directrix y equals 1 means I'm going to have something that intersects the y-axis, and so it means it's going to be a horizontal line, which means my parabola is either going to go up or down. Okay, it can't go side to side, otherwise it will intersect the directrix, and it can't intersect the directrix. So having a y equals something, some value as a directrix, means that I'm going to have to use this formula, x minus h squared equals 4 times p times y minus k, because it's either going to go up or down. Now, if I have a directrix that says x equals something, that means that the directrix is going to intersect the x-axis at a certain point and go straight up and down, go vertically, which means the hyperbola or the parabola is either going to go left or right. It cannot go up or down because it would intersect this directrix. And let's just say this directrix is x equals 8. It looks about 8 spaces this way. Okay, so when we have a directrix that's x equals something, we know we're going to have a left or a right parabola, which means we're going to have to use this formula. So just think of it in terms of opposite day. If you have a directrix of y equals something, you put the x little expression first. If you have a directrix of x equals something, you put the opposite. You put the y expression first. Okay, just think of it in terms of opposite day. Okay, so the rest of the formula, you've got 4 times p. Now, what is p? P is the distance between the vertices, so there's your vertices, and the directrix right here, which is this little space right here. That's p. Or it's the distance between the vertices and the focus, which is here. Because remember, they're the same. They're the exact same. The distance between here and here is the same as the distance between here and here. Although it doesn't really look that way on the paper because I didn't draw it exactly. Okay? So that is p. So it doesn't really matter if you use the focus or the directrix, but we'll just say between the vertices and the directrix. And so how do we find p? Well, we just subtract coordinates. So I'm going to pause this video and turn the page. Okay, so just try to ignore this stuff right here. I'm going to refer to this in just a minute. I want you to focus on this problem. So the problem is going to ask me to write the equation of this parabola when given the vertex 4, 5, your x coordinate, your y coordinate. You can also refer to this as h and k. And then with the directrix of x equals -1. Okay, so that means if x equals -1, I'm going to go -1 over here on the x-axis, and my line is going to go straight up and down. It's going to be vertical. So remember, I said treat the directrix as opposite day for finding which formula to use. So I have an x value here, x equals -1. So that means I'm going to put this one first, opposite. And because they're going to open left or right, because my line is going to go straight up and down, my directrix is. Okay, so directrix says x equals -1, so I'm going to put the opposite value first, the y one first. So, wow. Alexa, stop. Sorry about that. Alexa was reminding me to do something. I have no idea. Okay. So I'm going to use this formula right here.
I don't know that.
Oh my gosh. Alexa's dumb. She doesn't know. Okay. So I'm going to say y minus k squared equals 4 times p times, let me just refer to it again, x minus h. So this is the formula I'm going to use to find the formula for the parabola, and then I'm just going to start substituting in stuff. But first, I have to find this value of p, and remember, p is the distance between the vertices and the directrix, between this point and the line. And I've got to find that. So here's the easy hint. Remember, although I labeled these HK, it's still an X and Y value. So if my directrix is an X value, I'm just going to say my X value here minus this guy. If this were a Y, I would say my Y value minus this guy. But since it's an X, I'm going to say 4 minus negative 1. Okay, well, what is 4 minus negative 1? Those two negatives bump into each other and become a positive, so it's 4 plus 1, which equals 5. So now I know that P equals 5. Okay, so now I'm going to substitute in all of my H's and K's in here and just solve for my formula. So I have y minus k, so k is 5, so y minus 5 squared equals 4 times p. Well, I just found that p equals 5, 4 times 5 times x minus h, and h is 4, so I'm going to substitute that in there. And notice there's a squared here, but no squared there. There's no squared on this side of the equation. And so all I'm doing now is just a quick simplification of y minus 5 squared equals 4 times 5, which is 20, times x minus 4. And that's it. That is how Alex is going to want you to put the equation in when it asks for you to solve these things. So that's how you're going to do it. And so if I just sketched here, here's my negative 1, and so my directrix is going to go here. My vertex is at 4, 5, so it would go over 1, 2, 3, 4, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that's my vertex, and so it's going to look something like this. Oh, that's terrible. Sorry about that. It would actually look more something like that. And then my focus would be, if that were 4 this way, that would mean there's a gap of 5 there, and so it would be 5 this way. So my focus would be right around in there. Because look, it's equal distance here, that's P, and equal distance here, P. So those two would equal the same thing.